Alright, so I got the middle of this bag marked out. So I measured from, this side and then from top to bottom. And I marked the middle. And then I took a compass and here's the OEM CL6 shift boot. This is 1 inch across. So that's 1 inch. And then I'm going to reuse this little plastic ring that sits in there. That's what the shift knob seats into. It kind of holds the boot up instead of flopping around. So now I'm going to cut this hole out, and then I'm going to try and hot glue this ring into this bag. And then I got a spare one of these, which holds the shift boot, because this one is broken. And then I'm going to either glue, zip tie, or staple this bag to that. Alright, so I got the hole cut out, and here's the little plastic piece. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to load this plastic piece up with hot glue. And this is a pretty tight fit. So I'm going to load this up with hot glue, and I'm going to stick it in and press the bag over it. And I'm going to wait for it to dry. And then we'll see how that goes. And then I'm going to trim off all the frays. After that, then I should be able to attach it to this silver bottom. Alright, so here's the top part. Luckily the shift knob will cover up most of that. And then here's a genuine CL6 trim piece. I'm not super sure how this goes together, but I'm pretty sure this is how it goes together. And then I just hot glued the Crown Royal bag to the plastic part instead of stapling it. It seems to work pretty good. So I only had to make one hole and a little bit of hot glue. Pretty easy. Go test it out in the car real quick. So here's what it looks like in the car. The bag's obviously pretty big because it fits a fifth in there. Or not a fifth, but Crown Royal Peach. Brand new boots, $265, so I kind of like the look of it and just stuff the excess down there. It actually doesn't look too bad. Especially when I get a shift knob on there. It'll look really good. I need to figure out how this stays in place though, because it just slides around. I don't think it's supposed to do that. Alright, so it's not perfect, but sorry, I got a cold, so I can't really talk that well. But this is what it looks like inside the car. And I just use zip ties to hold it in place. So the bag is hot glued to the white part, and the white part bag and the original silver trim piece is zip tied to that to hold it all taut. And I wrapped it in carbon fiber. Alright, so I just used a drill bit and a couple zip ties to hold the bag to the plastic piece. Sorry about my voice, I'm still a little sick. And then turned out pretty good. I also wrapped it in carbon fiber. Looks a lot better. And then this is what it looks like on the piece itself. So it slides on, and then you push it down and pull it back. And that's how it looks. Alright, to cut some more weight, this is the AC box. So the AC refrigerant goes in here, and then the blower motor blows across, to create cold air for the cabin. But since I deleted it, but I still would like to have heat, because when I go out to meets in the winter here, it's very, very cold. So if you're cruising in the car at night without heat, it's not very bearable. So I'm gonna crack this open and take out all the guts, because this thing's pretty heavy. It's probably about 10 pounds. And then it is far easier for me to just gut it. It's far easier for me to gut it than it is to try and design and 3D print this. This would take me a very long time to do that. Take off the little grommet, maybe. Yeah, it's not savable. Oh well. This one I wouldn't mind trying to keep, because this seals up to the blower motor. Try and keep that seal alive. Well, there'd appear to be some kind of like a spider nest. Just take that shit out. And there's this contraption. Jesus Christ. Well, if anyone's ever wondering, here's what a AC core in a second gen looks like. A little temperature sensor. Not sure how much. It's not crazy heavy, but it's not very light. So now we just put this. I'm gonna wipe it out first because it's pretty gross, but I'll be right back. Alright, so I just sprayed it down with some quick detailer. I'm gonna go ahead and put it back together. Perfect. This one I did rip, but it should be alright. There, good as new. Straight through. Yeah, there's no cotton filters, but I won't be using it super often, so it's not that big of a deal. Take it off too. Alright, so I'm going to do a little bit of sanding on this bad boy right here. This is the stock top brace thing. I got some $1 paint. It's actually pretty good paint from Lowe's. And then I got some nuts. It's M8 by 125 is the thread pitch. That's the thread pitch. So I'm gonna do a little bit of sanding on this, clean it with acetone, and spray it with some black. Alright, so I painted everything up. Now I'm just got all the OEM bolts now. I just painted the tops in black, make it look a little cleaner. I got the M8 by 125 thread pitch nuts in there. I'm gonna go from the bottom. I'm gonna have someone hold it from the top, and I'm gonna tighten all the nuts from the bottom. So get all that done, and then I'll be able to mount up the battery. Alright, so I got the battery all mounted up with all the OEM stuff. Here's the OEM ground cable. Right here is the original mounting points for the rear trunk little lid thing, whatever you call that. And then I got some sorted Honda bolts. I'm taking these ground strips and I'm just sending them in here. And I wire wheeled them all off, so it should be good once I send them in. It's not really the correct thread pitch, but it'll be alright. Maybe. Oh, there's no way. That one's good. This one, not so much. This one needs a bigger bolt. Alright, so I had to ditch the ground idea from here because this metal's super thin right here. So stripped that out, drilled a new hole, tapped it, still stripped it out. This one's fine. And then down here where the metal's a little thicker, what I did is I smoked a hole, grabbed a nut and bolt, and then stuck it through. And then now this is how it looks. So this should be good enough. I wire wheeled everything. I guess I could do a starter draw test when I get it running and see if it's dropping too much amperage. And if so, then I will try and figure out a better ground situation. But for now, this works pretty good. Everything's super solid. Can barely even move the battery. Alright, so here's the automatic brake pedals, gas pedal shit. So here is the e-brake little thing. So when you push on the factory automatic e-brake, little switch, and then this connects to the connection, and it turns this on. So what I'm gonna do is, as you can see, I got this blue wire running. Ran it behind the carpet, tucked it behind the shifter and the e-brake, and then it plugs into right here. Get some light on that real quick. Plugs into that, which is conveniently the same plug as the auto. So when this metal tab presses on this switch, it creates a connection, and that connection allows it to turn on the light on the cluster. And so for the standalone, if you want two-step, you either have to use this, or on the clutch pedal you have to wire in these sensors. So I'm gonna do both just because personally I would like the safety of not being able to start the vehicle and the clutch is in, just in case I accidentally, just as a safety, so that way the car doesn't lunge forward. So I'm going to cut off this factory clip, use a bullet connector, and crimp that in. So I'm gonna cut this off, crimp this together, take this clip, crimp it to the end of this, and then plug it into here, and then that should work. And then when I get a positive wire ran to the battery, I can test it out. And then the next step will be drilling out all these rivets on here, because this is where the clutch pedal mounts in the sleeve. So you got one there, one there, one there, one there, one there, and one there. And they're pretty tough suckers, so it's gonna be a lot of fun drilling that out. Alright, so I got it all hooked up, but I can't test it because I don't have a positive wire. It ran to the battery and hooked up to all the main electronics. So, but I got it zip tied I got it connected to the factory connector. I had to bend this out a little bit because it was kind of bent. And then I just tucked it all in underneath the carpet. And then it's tied in right there. Factory harness. So it should be good to go. Alright. So there's where the factory automatic parking brake is. So if you put up the clutch pedal, get it up in there. So one stud lines up. Kind of hard to see. One stud lines up, right? But as you can tell, the other one's not even close. See, just swinging. So what you have to do is you have to drill out all those spot welds and then peel this bracket off, and then you can mount it up. So I'm gonna start doing all that. I'll set up time lapse and we'll get going. Alright, so this hole and this hole line up with the OEM gasket on the master cylinder. This is a brand new one. So we got to drill those two holes out, and then this big center one, because that's what allows this mechanism to go through. Because when you push in the clutch pedal, it pushes this in, which pushes the hydraulic fluid, sucks it in from the reservoir, pushes the fluid to the slave cylinder, which moves the hydraulic throughout bearing and disengages or engages the clutch. So I'm waiting for my drill batteries to charge right now as they keep dying. This is what the OEM bracket looks like. So this is how it is in the car. So you got one rivet there, you got one up top, one there, one down there, and one right here. So it wasn't too bad to get out, because once I got my screwdriver under here, after getting rid of this one, I just pried most of it out with just leverage. So it wasn't too bad. A little tedious, not bad. Alright, so sorry about the huge lapse in time. I was just trying to get stuff done real quick. So after I basically ruined that hole saw bit, it wouldn't stop cutting anymore. So I just took a hammer, threw enough of it to where I could just hammer out the little center part, and that's what I did. And then I took a file and cleaned it all up. So that's what it looks like. And then these are conveniently M8 by 1.25 threads as well. So those nuts I bought for the battery tray fit to that. Then I had to, there's little bushings, probably can't see them, but on the part that the clutch pedal is mounted to this exterior bracket, there's little bushings, and one of them was missing. So I had to design and 3D print those to replace it. And then after all that, I finally got it all done. And then a little tip is when you do this swap, a lot of people tell you to get a manual Civic brake pedal or a manual CO6, and then you have to disconnect all this crap. Easy way to do it. You get a piece of paper, you run your finger along the edge to create a hard crease in the piece of paper, and then you cut out a stencil, and then you put it on this bad boy, and you take a Dremel, cut it out, and then you put by 2 manual clutch cover or pedal clutch cover things, these things, and then you put it on both of those, and then boom, now your pedals are properly spaced. Alright, so the genuine CO6, the distance between this and the brake pedal is 3 inches from this corner to this corner. So what I did is I took my template that I previously made and I moved it all the way over, and this is about 3 inches. It's really close. So good thing I didn't do this, otherwise it'd be really easy to press in the clutch and brake at the same time. Should not be good. But anyways, we're gonna get this cut and set the time lapse.
Those medical pills are push me over. I kill my fill 3 times a day. These ethanol fumes won't make me sober. One flame to take the pain away. I caught you lighting matches in the back room.
Alright, it's not exactly the prettiest. As you can tell, this one lays nice and flat. That one's kind of like a little bulgy in some areas, but it is good enough. It'll do my purpose. This little rubber guy isn't coming off. It fits good enough. So, yeah, that's how you do that. Looks pretty good. So, I didn't have to do any measuring of any kind. All the holes are pre-existing here. You just have to remove the factory bracket, which is... You just have to remove that guy in order to see the holes. So everything's already there, and then it's a very tight fit. I'm trying to get it in. It's a very tight fit down there, so there it is. So as you can tell, here is a genuine OEM reservoir for it. So that's what it looks like. So I have to get this metal hardline on down in there, and I try to put it on prior and then put it down in there, and it wouldn't work. So what I'm going to do is put that metal line on first, and then you have to disconnect this little bracket right here, which is held in by 110mm bolt, and then this little guy is just stuck on right there. So you put some WD-40 and slide it off, just so you can get enough room. It took quite a while. There's a lot of finessing you have to do with it, but once you get it in there, you shouldn't have to mess with it, because all the bleeding is done on the slave cylinder with the bleeding valve. So next I'm going to be putting on this metal line, and then I'm going to rotate this, figure out a place to put this, probably zip tie it to somewhere here, put the bracket back on, and then hopefully don't touch the master again. Alright, so a little hard to see again, but there's that for you. So there's that metal line. So you want the hardest bending loop going into the master first, and then there's the other end right there. See that flashlight on there? And then it goes down there underneath that wiring harness. You can kind of see it right there, right underneath the brake master reservoir. And then it goes underneath all the wires. It has to go underneath all the wiring harness. It can't go on top, otherwise it doesn't fit. And it screws into there. And then from there, I'm gonna order a, the steel braid line from Pt2, and then run that to the slave. That'll be mounted to the trans. So in order to tighten that up, I just took the 10 mil, took a 17, braced it against the strut tower because the bottom nut does spin. The bottom nut does spin, so I braced it against the strut tower, took a 10 mil and got as tight as I could. A line wrench is obviously optimal since this is technically a brake line. You know, it's like one of these. You know, it's got the same style fitting. So you're supposed to use a line wrench on it, but I don't own any 10mm line wrenches. I only have standard line wrenches for whatever reason. But there it is.
Haters look mad when they pass you. Let's talk about around when it's past due. Raise a glass, dude, no. You don't gotta fight